LegLock MMA Episode 4, straight off of UFC 263. What a banger. I mean, Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori, headlining the event, and Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno, also co-maining it. And you can't forget about Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz, also on the card.
First 5-round non-co-main, non-main, non-title fight in UFC history.
Right.
And no better people than Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz, which
exactly.
we'll get to that, but they delivered.
Exactly. First off, we're going to start with Paul Craig and Jamal Hill.
Yeah, what an interesting one.
Gruesome.
Yeah.
Gruesome fight. Everyone saw the arm. We originally thought it broke, but then we learned that it was actually just a bad dislocation.
Yeah, thank God, for sure.
Good. But
his arm snapped was good.
Exactly. But, I mean, the ref should have called that fight very, very sooner than that. I mean, he just got pummeled with a dislocated arm. I mean, it was just ugly.
You saw it flopping around like it was dead, basically. Like, it looked dislocated. We all knew it was dislocated, but the ref just decided to let the other guy punch him in the face for like 5 minutes. So.
Exactly. It was just ugly. Congrats to Paul Craig. Those guys had beef going in. I mean, Jamal Hill was undefeated going into that fight. But, I mean, everyone's got to take an L, unless you're Khabib. But,
unless you're Khabib, then you don't take L's.
I mean, Paul Craig, he might be on a tear in that lightweight division. Everyone's got to look out for him. But
yeah.
Other than that, that fight didn't really go that much. But great fight in general. And leading up to that one, I mean, Damian Maia versus Belal Muhammad. I'll let you take that one.
So I guess what you get out of this is that, you know, it's a young man's game. Belal Muhammad, I wouldn't really say put on a masterclass, but clearly outboxed Damian Maia. We saw Damian Maia, as, you know, classic Damian Maia fashion, go for single leg after single leg after single leg. I think he attempted somewhere between 20 and 30 single legs.
Wow.
Got about almost all of them stuffed by Belal Muhammad, and just got outboxed, you know, out hit. Even defended. I mean, he really didn't do anything.
Right.
I think Damian Maia is around like 42 or something like that now. He's getting up there in age, you know.
I mean, Damian Maia is a legend. Damian Maia is a legend. Absolutely. He will always be a legend. I mean, like Nick said, it's a young man's game. I mean, Belal Muhammad, he's been on a tear. I mean, coming off of that gruesome eye poke from Leon Edwards. I mean, he's been on a tear. I mean, the man, you can tell he can fight, but he stuffed a lot of Damian Maia's takedowns. I mean, granted, Damian Maia was going after the same takedown and the same takedown and the same takedown. But, I mean, listen, it's Damian Maia. I mean, if this is his last fight, I mean, I don't want to say it was a good way to go out, but I mean, the man's Damian Maia. The name stands for itself. Yeah,
and like they said, if he had won the fight, he would have been tied with Donald Cerrone for the top, you know,
most
wins in the UFC history, and that's no small feat. So second most. I mean, if you go out like that, then there's nothing really to be ashamed of.
And I mean, I personally think, I mean, if they want to do like a Damian Maia versus Donald Cerrone, and both of them being a retirement fight, I wouldn't be sad with that. But we'll have to see, because I know Donald wants to go down to the lightweight for his last fight. But anyway, moving on from that fight, congrats to... You could have silenced that cell phone?
I'm trying to silence the cell phone. Jeez.
Anyway, going up, it's welterweight. Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz. The return of a king. I mean, it's Nate Diaz's army. I mean, you heard the place. If you watched the fight, you heard the arena just roaring for Nate Diaz. I mean, Nate Diaz has a special superstar-like power that we don't see. We don't see besides like a Conor McGregor type character. I mean, I don't know why everyone loves Nate Diaz, but I mean, it's Nate Diaz. I love him.
Yeah, I love him too. Like, I guess it's just Nate Diaz.
But listen, I mean, he went in there. It didn't look like normal Nate Diaz. I mean, it looked like a Nate Diaz that was trying to get into Leon's head the whole fight. I mean,
I enjoyed it though.
I enjoyed it too. It was quite like funny to watch. Yeah, I mean, not a diss on Nate at all, but like it was funny to watch him try to get into there. He was just walking. He was like crab walking on the side of him, and then he jump at him.
Yeah, like just like then sneak him.
But Leon Edwards put on a beautiful, beautiful performance against Nate Diaz.
I just silenced it. I don't know what's happening anymore.
Come on, man. Anyways. I mean, Nate got cut up bad during that third round. He got cut up bad. I'm glad to see Nate Diaz did not get finished. I thought he was going to get finished around maybe 3rd or 4th round. I mean, Nate Diaz just has a lot of scar tissue. I mean, Leon Edwards opened up a nice cut on the side of Nate's head. But, I mean, Nate Diaz, he was surviving a lot of Leon's best shots. And a lot of Leon's best shots didn't barely even looked like it wobbled him, honestly.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the fight itself, I mean, it was a pretty good fight. I liked it. I mean, at the last minute of the fight, Nate rocked Leon.
Oh yeah, he was on wobbly legs. I mean, like I said, if there was another minute in that fight, Nate Diaz probably I was just reading on Twitter. Nate Diaz said if this was the streets, that would have been it for you. That because there is no rounds in the streets. So if there had been a couple more minutes, be it maybe another minute, I think Nate Diaz could have got him out of there.
Right.
Nate Diaz was tired, had been hit, bleeding all over the place. Classic Nate Diaz fashion now.
Yeah, it's got a lot of scar tissue.
But like he already said, it was an absolute blast to watch. Probably my favorite fight on the card.
Right.
By far.
I mean, Nate basically hasn't fought in 2 years.
No, this is, they said, his second longest layoff of all time, and he still looked good out there. I mean, he didn't look, he was fighting Leon Edwards. Granted, I mean, Leon Edwards is a crazy fast guy, and we know Nate Diaz is a stocky kind of boxer kind of guy. But he still looked good out there. He looked like Nate Diaz. He took everything. I honestly don't think anyone can knock that man out. Right. It was fun to see.
Earlier in the fight, it looked like Nate could have got an ankle lock there.
It did.
I mean,
wish he committed to it.
We wish he committed to it because I would love to see.
We were standing up for that. We should have thought he should have kept that.
Yeah. I mean, but granted, this makes Leon move on. It's either Colby Covington or Leon Edwards for Kamaru Usman's title.
No, absolutely. I think it's going to be Colby Covington first.
I think it is too because Leon just fought. They want to they've been pushing that welterweight division a lot lately. Kamaru's been defending his title a lot, which is good. It makes the division move forward, and
somehow Kamaru is still not the pound for pound fighter in the world.
Right. John Jones hasn't fought in over a year or two, and he's still the number 1 pound for pound. But I'm not the matchmakers there.
We won't talk about that.
But anyways, congrats on Leon. Beautiful performance. It was fun to watch. Definitely fun to watch.
It's good to have one of those ups and downs, like we're watching Nate get decimated for 4 rounds, and then Leon Edwards almost gets knocked out. Everyone in the crowd was standing up. We were standing up, standing in front of the TV, screaming for Nate to finish. It was so much fun to watch.
I feel bad for Nate Diaz when he gets older. He's gonna have a shit ton of CTE.
Yeah, I'm sure he will be.
He's gonna be brain dead by his 50.
Probably brain dead.
Anyways, but flying up to the flyweight division, to the co-main, we got Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno 2.
Yeah,
these guys fought in 2020. They put on the fight of the year in 2020. We never saw nothing like it. They went all 5 rounds to the bell.
But here...
And then Brandon Moreno comes out looking like an absolute savage
Walking to the ring, focused, focused on getting that belt, getting back that loss.
Brandon Moreno had 24 weeks to get ready for this.
Absolutely. He said since the start of January.
Right.
That's crazy.
After that first fight between them, everyone wanted to see the rematch, and we got it tonight, and we see who is the champion in that. Listen, granted, Brandon Moreno had 3 weeks, and granted, Davison Figueiredo also had 3 weeks. But we saw they both had the most time. They were back in their... Davison Figueiredo was back in his home country. Listen... It's shown Brandon Moreno outclassed the champion easily tonight.
And it's very nice to see someone who had been cut from the UFC wins a championship in another organization and comes back to not only have 2 championship fights, lose the first one, but come back and win the second one.
He didn't even lose it. It was a draw.
Yeah, but come back and win in spectacular fashion against someone who's never been submitted before. It was great to see, and especially the first Mexican champion.
Right, exactly. Congratulations to Mexico for earning their first champion. Listen, Brandon Moreno came out looking good. He came out calm. He came out focused. Davison Figueiredo, he said, I want to knock him out first round.
And he just got knocked out first round.
Exactly. It didn't really look like he was there. Usually when there's a Davison Figueiredo fight, he's ready to take your head off.
Yeah, something just looked weird to me. I feel like he looked lackadaisical or whatever the word is.
I think he got too much in his own head because he was very cocky leading up to this fight.
Towards the end of it, I know good sportsmanship and all that, but it just seemed like he just didn't care at all. You know what I mean? I feel like you should care that you just lost your belt, but he just didn't care.
But I'm not sure. But he did show great sportsmanship lifting up Brandon Moreno. For sure. Great to see Brandon Moreno being the champion. I'm excited to see what he does with that weight class. Hey, who knows? Maybe Triple C will come back, try to grab that.
He keeps talking about it.
He does. Anyways, but great fight. Moving up to the main event, middleweight. Yeah. Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori 2.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot to say here.
There is.
And we're going to start off talking about how Israel Adesanya, since his loss to Jan Blachowicz, has seriously improved his ground game, his takedown defense, his stuffing, everything. We saw that.
Significantly improved.
Amazing reversals, pushing off the cage and reversing the position on top of Marvin Vettori.
Right. Coming
into this, having Jan expose those holes in Israel's game when he lost to him. we saw that he worked on those. Knowing Marvin Vettori's a wrestler, we knew immediately coming into this that he was going to try and take him down, and that's exactly what happened.
Right.
And maybe he got 1 or 2 takedowns, but as soon as Izzy started getting his rhythm going, he was reversing position. He was stuffing quite a lot of them. Really, it was really nice to see a champion, just get better, just like we see with Kamaru Usman, just getting better, and it's nice to see that.
Right. I mean, it's sad to see that Marvin Vettori still believes he won this fight.
Yeah, that's really strange to me.
I mean, Marvin Vettori, he looked off. I think Marvin Vettori also, like Davis Figueroa, got too cocky. I'm going to take that belt. I'm going to take that belt. I mean, listen, Marvin Vettori looked very bad tonight. He looked like a shaved ball sack, first of all.
He looked like an orc.
I mean, he looked like an orc from Mordor. He did not look good tonight. Physically, technically, he didn't look good at all.
He just got
tonight.
outclassed.
I mean, listen, he wasn't committing to his takedowns. He maybe committed to 3 takedowns.
Not even his takedowns, his combinations.
In those takedowns that the takedowns that he committed to, he got Izzy down.
Right.
But he couldn't even hold Izzy down.
Couldn't land any shots. I mean, and then, like you said, his takedowns, the second he saw Izzy backing up and he went for that 1-2, he would just let go of that second punch. You know what I mean? Expending energy.
He would get Izzy with a 1-2, and Izzy would be kind of like over here, and he would have a left hand like cocked, but he wouldn't shoot it.
Right, like he'd go like halfway and be like, excuse me, he'd go like halfway and then it would just, he just fizzle out and he wouldn't commit to anything.
And I mean, it's great to see Izzy have a 5-round battle like that. I mean, we haven't seen that since Kevin Gastelum.
That was nice to see, and it wasn't exactly a boring fight.
But it wasn't necessarily a boring fight at all. It was very technical. I mean, that Arizona crowd was just freaking...
Yeah, there was strange booing Davis and Figueroa and Brandon Moreno for being on the ground for more than 13 seconds.
Yeah, they were very impatient.
Yeah,
but I mean, I get it.
It's still good to have a crowd, though.
You want to see people fight. You go to see people fight.
No, I'm not even going to complain at all. Right. It's good to see a crowd.
But anyways, I mean, Israel Adesanya, I mean, he's too funny. Grabbing his ass, I mean, he's too funny.
Playing with his ear, I think he kissed him on the back of the head.
Pretending that he's hurt.
Even after the bell.
I mean, listen, Israel Adesanya versus Bobby Knuckles is next. I mean, Marvin Vettori, he's old news at this point. Marvin Vettori...
Yeah, he won't get a shot for some time.
I think he needs at least 2 more wins. Not even 2 more fights, 2 more wins.
I think he needs a good year.
If that. I mean, 2 more wins to actually get it. I mean, he definitely has to fight Darren Till again. He didn't even fight Darren Till, but he needs that... They need that fight. Because that would really prove...
Yeah, you're right. That would prove a lot of things for Marvin Vettori, but I don't know. Something about Marvin Vettori... I get it. He's a wrestler. His punches are pretty trash, but his wrestling isn't even that good.
So he doesn't really have an expertise.
Not really. He's just mediocre to me.
Right.
I get it. Oh, he beat Kevin Holland, but who else has he beat aside from that?
Right. But Kevin Holland's also an up and coming middleweight. He's not a top 5 middleweight.
He wasn't a wrestler. So Marvin Vettori beats him by wrestling someone who didn't know how to wrestle and goes, "Oh, I'm a wrestler now." I don't know. It just didn't show to me. He didn't show me anything in this fight that goes, "Wow, that's a contender."
I would have loved to see Israel put him out. I think everyone would have. Yeah. But I mean, it's great to see him be like, "Listen, we went 5 rounds before. I beat you. We just won 5 rounds again, and I beat you
definitively.
And you have no room to talk anymore." But
I'm sure he'll be delusional and go on Twitter or whatever he does and just
he was running from me. He was runing from me.
Oh my God.
I mean, I can already
kick me in the
see
balls. Yeah, I poked me.
Whatever. I mean, Marvin Vettori's all news at this point.
Yeah.
But moving on, I mean, to the future of Israel Adesanya, we're looking at Robert Whittaker, maybe Paul Costa if he gets his shit together.
Yeah.
And Darren Till maybe. I mean, listen, we have a lot of people that can obviously fight Israel Adesanya, but the main one that we would love to see and that needs to happen, if it doesn't happen, I will mob the UFC. If Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya don't get this fight next, it's bullshit.
I mean, but to just to interject there, I was just going through Twitter a second ago, and Israel Adesanya at the end of the fight called out, in his own words, what's that cunt's name? Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whittaker, something like that.
On YouTube.
Yeah, like we say everything else. Anyways, so he said that, and then Robert Whittaker already responded on Twitter, actually. He already said, "Rest up, see you soon, boy." So I think that this is the only fight to make in the middleweight division. Not only has Robert Whittaker defended his number 1 contender spot 3 times now, he hasn't had that shot since he lost it to Israel 2 years ago. So that's the fight to make. That will happen next. And if it doesn't, like he said, we'll ride. So
I believe Robert Whittaker beats Adesanya this time around.
I do too. In his most recent, fight against Kelvin Gastelum, in that fight night, I think he put on such a masterclass. He looked even crisper
beautiful
than he did ever. You know what I mean? It's just like that loss to Israel Adesanya and losing and then winning 3 fights in a row at that number one contender spot. Being in the octagon so often, it just after just like Israel Adesanya, how he lost, how he improves his game.
Right.
I feel it's the same thing with Robert Whittaker.
Right. Exactly. I don't know. Not much more to touch on UFC 263. A pretty good card in my opinion. But anyway, moving on to a hot topic right now, fighter pay. A lot of fighters have been complaining about not getting paid a lot. I mean, everyone sees, oh, he just made $20 million going box a YouTube kid. But, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about this whole situation?
Let's see. I agree and I disagree. So I think the only issue with UFC fighter pay is the sponsorships. Like, you get those monster logos, and some people don't even like that. Monster won't even pay certain people. But you see boxing, and you see all this stuff, all these sponsors, all these extra endorsements they do. But you don't see that in UFC. And there's so many fighters on the roster. There's so many that you can't expect to pay. Right. Like the lowest fighters millions of dollars. I mean, people like that, like those exhibition matches, like just happened with Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather, get so much publicity, so many pay-per-view buys. Like, wow, that's pretty crazy. I want to watch that.
Right.
And it just gets so much more. I'm not gonna say hype, but so much more endorsements, so many more opportunities for money to be made that it can allow certain fighters. Like Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer of all time. I'm sure he deserves that money. I think he got $50 million, and Logan Paul is the one that got $20 million.
I think he got more than. I think he got 100 something.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you see one guy getting paid, theoretically, if he got over $100 million, and you see Conor McGregor making I think 10, $20 million at the very most,
the least,
and that's Conor McGregor. That's the biggest star in the sport. You should see guys like Kamaru Usman. So now I'm starting to understand where John Jones is coming from, wanting this $10 million to fight Francis Ngannou.
Right.
It's just a strange.
I believe. Not to cut you off. Well said. Well said. I mean, I believe that the UFC should go back to how they used to be, where the fighters had sponsored shorts, had their sponsors on their shorts. They were making a lot of money with their sponsors because they could have 30 sponsors. You could fit a lot of names on those shorts.
Right.
But I get where the UFC's we want to look more professional. We want everybody to have out of the same uniform. We want them to represent this, and that. But it's also these guys are putting their lives on the line, basically.
Just like tonight, guys getting their arms dislocated.
Exactly, and that kid probably made maybe $75,000 for that.
Yeah, exactly,
fight.
Maybe $75,000.
He's ranked number 15 light heavyweight. I mean, he's
undefeated
not
before that.
Right, he's not making a shit ton of money. He's not making over $100,000 a fight. If he is, congrats. But a lot of these fighters on the prelims, they're making maybe $25,000-$30,000,
and they're going to slugfest. The main prelim fight was probably either my favorite or second favorite fight.
Right.
In this entire thing, and that was on the prelims.
Right.
That was free.
And not to get off track here, but Drew Dober versus Brad Riddell, they slugged it out. They easily have concussions.
That's not even off track because the point we're trying to make is these people have crazy fights that could give them concussions and injure them.
But I understand where it's okay, they can get fight of the night, they can both get $50,000 more, but that doesn't. What about the other guys that just got their heads pummeled in?
Exactly. Say all those fights were crazy 5-round slugfests.
Right.
Everyone's bleeding. Not all of them can get fight of the night. Not all of them can get performance bonuses. It's it's a strange predicament.
Everyone has a set wage. Everybody has a set contract.
Their show, their date.
Right. And I understand. Paul Costa pulled out of his most recent fight against Jared Cannonier because he felt like he wasn't getting paid enough. And I mean, Dana came back and said, listen, if you wanted to make more money, maybe you should have started a YouTube account and became a YouTuber and this and that and the third.
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know what it is with Dana White.
I mean, I don't know why either, because the UFC is a multi-million-dollar company.
I'd say almost $1 billion.
Let me look up the UFC Network real quick.
While he does that, it's things like that you can argue with and against. Paulo Costa is the second number contender in the middleweight or something like that, but it's Paulo Costa. I mean, he's fought a bunch of people, but none of them are really up there. I mean, I get he's arguing for more money, but I personally don't think people like Paulo Costa are worth $10 million.
Right.
He's a good fighter, yeah, but I don't think he's worth $10 million, which is why that argument comes into place.
These fighters should be making more money.
Right, but sometimes they're not worth that money. I don't know.
The UFC, according to this article, is worth $10 billion.
That's just UFC alone.
That's just the UFC. listen, if these fighters want more money, maybe they should have a freaking a strike.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have a strike. We're not fighting, and then I don't know. That won't happen. But
I don't
anyway,
think that'll happen. But I think change will come eventually.
But it's just like they're seeing these like Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley's getting the biggest purse of his career fighting a YouTuber kid.
And he was the welterweight king for like 3 or 4 years almost.
Right. I mean, Tyron Woodley's on a tear, and he's making nowhere near as much as he is fighting Jake Paul.
He's fighting a YouTuber, and he's making that kind of money.
And it's like, I don't understand why boxing has so much more money in it. When boxing is such a least popular sport at these times of day than the mixed martial arts. But it's like, I understand where it's like, oh, we're putting our lives on the line, we're doing this, but you signed that contract. I get the contract might not be negotiable, and it's like, holy shit, I'm in the UFC, this is my chance, and you just, like, you want to sign it?
Exactly.
But it's like, you kind of have to, like, think about, like, all right, well, I'm making this much money per fight, maybe I could be making more. But it's like, I understand, like, I don't know, it's just, it's kind of, when it comes to superstars like John Jones, Francis Ngannou, a superstar fight, I 100% believe that, hey, John, what's your number? 12 million? We'll give it to you. Ngannou, what do you want? 10? We'll give it to you. We want to make this fight happen because we know this pay-per-view is going to blow any other pay-per-view out of the water.
Yeah.
And it's like, we're going to make that money back.
You know, and for instance, like he just said, there's certain events and fighters, like upcoming Dustin Poirier versus Conor McGregor 3, that's an amazing rubber match. That's going to be huge.
Right.
I'm sure both them, Poirier probably for the first time or maybe second, third time in his career is going to make over $1 million for that fight.
No, wait, no. Poirier turned down the title fight because he's like, listen, I'm coming for the bag.
It was the money fight, you're right.
He's getting the money fight. He's getting the red panty night. I mean, Poirier's easily leaving this fight with $5 million. McGregor, maybe 12. We don't know. But it's like these, let's say the top 5 ranked contenders should all be making more than $300,000 a fight.
I'm sure they make more than the rest, but they've earned that position. Right. Especially guys like Robert Whittaker, who's defended his position 3 times.
Right.
I feel like their money or how much they're paid should go up depending on their wins. I'm not saying it should be docked if they lose one, but like just if they're worth it, if they're showing out, if they're fighting, if they're winning constantly, like guys like Kamaru Usman. Or I know Khabib makes a lot of money, but like guys like Kamaru Usman aren't making enough money that they should.
Right.
Like people like that who are on tears, who haven't lost in a long time. That's why you see Colby Covington turning into chaos to try and create more publicity. Like he says, it's an act, so he can get more people to watch it. It doesn't bring in pay-per-view buys.
It's the entertainment business.
Exactly, so he can make more
money.
Mean,
it's basically like pro wrestling. They have to do like Colby Covington. He turned into a different character. Brazil, you're a dump. He got his name everywhere.
That's because he was about to be cut. He had to do something to save his career.
Exactly. It's sad to see these fighters looking for more money and Dana saying no.
Yeah,
that's sad to watch.
Yeah, we could go on about this forever.
We could, but it's just
at the end of the line.
Overall, pay John Jones and Francis Ngannou. We need to see this fight.
We're not gonna see that.
It's just like I don't know.
It's just a touchy subject, and honestly,
it really is.
Two kids sitting in a basement, recording a podcast aren't going to be able to change the world. But hopefully our opinion, resonates with you somewhat. But I think that whoever's watching, and we definitely agree that people like that should get paid more money. Like Amanda Nunes, she should get paid a lot of money. Champions should get tons of money compared to people who aren't champions. Right. I don't know. You can go on forever.
I feel like all champions should get a set wage. Okay.
I feel all champions should be over $1 million.
Right. So say if you're a champion, you're making $5 million. That's every champion.
Right, and you have to think they're a champion of the world in their division. Like, look at everyone else who's in their weight division.
Exactly.
They should be head and shoulders above the rest of people.
Exactly, and like Nick's saying here, it's like Charles Oliveira is the champion of the world, and Conor McGregor is number 5. Conor McGregor is making so much more money than Charles Oliveira. It's not even funny.
Yeah, but I agree with you. But Conor McGregor is kind of that one-off, I'd say, in my opinion, because he's done boxing.
He's the poster child.
He's the poster child. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you got to take care of your poster child because he's what brings in a lot of money.
Right.
But I don't know, but that is true. You know what I mean? Charles Oliveira should make somewhere around. I'm not gonna say the same amount as Conor McGregor, but a decent amount. He's a champion.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I'm not sure anymore, but I mean, you want to touch on the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight?
I mean, we can. I bought that fight. Showtime crashed. It was a waste of money, but I guess we can touch on it from we'll analyze it from a fighting perspective first, and then we'll talk about what it did for the sport.
I didn't watch the fight. I watched the highlights on Twitter.
So Floyd Mayweather just beat the living shit out of Logan Paul for what was it, 12 rounds, I think?
It's 8
or 12 rounds, whatever it was, because my Showtime crashed. I couldn't even watch it correctly. But yeah, from what I saw and what I was able to watch, it just seemed like utter domination. In the beginning, it seemed like Logan was flurrying Floyd at the end of the first, chasing him down, belligerently punching at him. I mean, like Floyd said at the very end, he's better than he thought he was. Sure, he might not be the best boxer in the world, definitely not. But he's an athletic kid, and I guess it's good for the sport and whatnot to see, people making these kinds of money, bringing some more eyes to boxing, more people getting into boxing. Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, Jake Paul, Logan Paul, bringing eyes to boxing. That's kind of stuff we need in the UFC. Just like the BMF belt, which is why I loved it so much.
Right.
Because it was such a one-off, and it was so fun to see, and everyone loved it. Everybody. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson came in and handed out the belt. Like, everyone loved that kind of stuff. And we can't even... And Dana White calls, like, Logan Paul and Jake Paul ideas like that stupid. But he makes his own belt for Jorge Masvidal and Nick Diaz. I don't know. Dana White, I feel like, is really prideful and contentious about this. I don't understand. But looking at what this just did for boxing, imagine what it could do for the fighters in the UFC if they did stuff like this. Like, I don't know. It's so weird.
It is. I mean, I didn't personally agree with that fight happening because it's Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul.
Weight, height difference, everything like that.
Just that whole idea of that fight. It's like, yes, it's entertainment. It's entertainment. It's fun to watch. But why do that? The reason why there was no winner is to protect Floyd's record. Because if, say, God forbid, Floyd lost, and his 50-1 is to Logan Paul. He doesn't want that. And, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Logan got some nice shots in. Floyd definitely got some nice shots in. But, I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens next with this Logan Paul and Jake Paul type thing.
I'm excited to see Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley.
I am too. You sent me a video of them squaring off.
Yeah, squared off. Logan Paul, Jake Paul doesn't seem like when he looks at it, he wants to look him in the eye.
Right. He's scared, it looks like.
He's scared of him. But, it's just that idea that I can't, just shake off that Tyron Woodley's making the most money he's ever made.
Right, and he was a champion in the UFC
for years. The chosen one. Oh, it's Tyron Woodley. And he's making the most money he's ever made
sad.
Fighting a YouTuber?
It is really sad. I mean, I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah, but in terms of Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather, obviously it was a one-sided affair. It was still fun to watch. He had Migos performing, celebrities there, yada, yada, yada. But I think tonight, actually, there was a bunch of TikTokers and YouTubers boxing.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? Like, Austin McBrim and Bryce Hall, Taylor, a bunch of people. I don't think we can touch on that because there's so much stuff for that.
Yeah, I didn't even watch
But I don't even want to touch on that. But it's just, people getting drawn to boxing. All these, celebrity fights, and Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather and Jake Paul and Ben Askren and Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley, everyone's getting drawn to watch these boxing events because they're boxing. Imagine if we had this kind of stuff for UFC, how much money it could possibly rake in.
Right.
Like, who wouldn't want to see Jake Paul in an MMA fight with Tyron Woodley?
I would love to see that.
I would pay like $80 for that. I don't care. I would love that. And that would bring in so much money because everyone would want to watch Jake Paul get his ass whooped.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I just did a quick search here. I asked, why does boxing make so much more money than MMA? It says the top boxers make more money than MMA fighters because they participate in upside for ticket sales and pay-per-view, which doesn't make sense because UFC makes so much more money on pay-per-views than boxing. And it's like, in ticket sales, what does that have to do with anything? I don't know. I think, to wrap this up, I think MMA fighters deserve more money. I think MMA fighters should, like, on a top tier class, like John Jones should say, I want $12 million, and they give him $12 million
for mega fights like that.
For mega fights. Wrapping also up, UFC 263, great card. Excited to see what's next for Israel Adesanya. Not so excited to see Marvin's ballsack head again.
No, we're that rough.
Excited to see Brandon Moreno. See what he does, but excited to see what's next for the UFC.
Of course, like always, there's so many possibilities to look forward to, and you just got to keep your eye out on news.
There really
just like
is.
us, always on Twitter looking for new news.
There is.
Things are announced every day. So,
but anyway, thank you so much for watching another episode of LegLock MMA. I'm your host, Cole Dixon.
I'm Nick Blumke.
And this was episode 4.
It's episode 4 of LegLock MMA, our podcast. Thank you guys for watching so much. For our small people who are watching, we really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Please like and subscribe. Follow our links in the description. Thank you very much.
Be safe.
Yeah. Fuck that. Redo that. Let me see if that's
Why'd you go?
recorded. Thank you so much for watching another episode of LegLock MMA. This was episode 4, covering UFC 263, Marvin Vettori versus Israel Adesanya 2, Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueiredo 2. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cole Dixon.
I'm Nick Blumke.
Follow the links in the description. Please like and subscribe. Everything counts.
Thank you so
much.
much.
And we'll see you on the next one.